During the mid-'70s and early '80s, the Rockets had some outstanding players, but didn't reach the top again until 1984, when they lost only 2 games by a total of 8 points.
Chucky Bankston, prankster, funny guy, very fast, good all-around guy.
Chucky was a young man that when he first came out, it was sort of comical because all the kids, used to kid Chucky, used to kid him. Chucky's skinny, run like a deer. All he wanted to do was play receiver.
He was a good receiver, fast, very athletic, but actually he was probably better on defense for us. Chucky could hit pretty good. He was a better hitter than a blocker, and he could come up and do the job pretty good.
Hell of a receiver. Made my job easy, real easy.
Good attitude. Chuck came out, gave us 110%, knew what his role was. Made the difference, I think, in our team just with his talent and his attitude.
He was an outstanding athlete, a leaper, great cutting ability and everything, and strong.
Very hard runner, hard-nosed runner.
He could break tackles as well as run away from guys. So, yeah, he was a great runner.
That guy was grease lightning. I mean, you couldn't touch him. He's definitely one of the key players on our team.
I've coached now 27 years, probably one of the finest athletes I've ever coached.
Another track guy, very fast, athletic.
We had total confidence in him, and we couldn't believe how our impression of Rodney picked up over the course of the season. By the end of the year, again, he was one of my favorite players.
Good demeanor, in practice funny, always screwing around, having a good time, but when it came time to play, Rodney was there.
He's quite a threat on both sides of the ball. Good athlete. But his senior year, he was one of our captains.
Very strong quarterback. Good arm. Good friend.
Strong kid, smart kid, and he could throw the ball. Dalton was the man that got the job, but he had pretty good hands, and he could play defense as well. He was a good defensive football player for us. He was scrappy, and he did quite a good job catching passes for us. He wasn't, our main target or anything like that, but we could have confidence in throwing to him, and a good attitude, nice kid.
Another prankster, troublemaker in the locker room.
Kyle, probably one of the toughest individuals that I've ever coached.
He was a rock. You gave him the ball and he was a rock.
Kyle was a tough runner. He wasn't as flashy in his moves, but very powerful, could break tackles, and he was one of the guys, along with Brian and some players, that refused to lose.
I mean, his arms were that big around, and he was on very, very stressful weight training program that he did himself.
Kyle played in Armada with a broken hand, bleeding, game, just a hardcore individual.
Me and him would just get on the line and start growling at people, intimidate them. Miss playing with Kyle. Aaron Smith tried his hardest. Not a whole lot of natural talent, but he gave it all. He was there every day, showed up.
Didn't have the skills of some of the other guys, but he had a heart of gold, and he was on our special teams, and I believe he made some big plays on tackles, kickoff teams, stuff like that.
Another very tough fullback.
Very tough football player, strong-legged runner.
He was the type of kid that didn't matter where we played him, on defense, on offense, he was there.
Yeah, got hurt a little bit, and I think that's because he gave 110% all the time. I mean, he was hitting as hard as they were hitting him, and just got hurt a little bit. He was on varsity as a sophomore. Did a fine job.
He was probably, at that time, I know he was the most talented sophomore that was in the sophomore group.
Jeff was a good runner, but he could play defense, and he was one of those other guys, no matter where you put him, he was going to get the job done.
Another one of the team players that made it a championship team.
His senior year, he did a real good job and was first team all-conference as offensive center.
One of the smartest linemen I've ever dealt with.
Smart and know how to use his head, which is just as important as brawn.
Very intelligent, kind of soft-spoken, but hit. And like I said, he never let me get hit by anybody.
Good technique, real intelligent. He knew what to do, worked hard to get it done, and again, he was a pleasant surprise.
Harold was good, and even better person than a player.
Harold, he was our best lineman as a junior.
Never ever backed down from anybody.
Harold wasn't the biggest tackle to make All-State, but he was 5'11" and 211, but he was quick. He had good techniques, and he was so quick. He'd out-quick the bigger guys, and a good hitter, and a team player, a good leader, and he was one of our co-captains.
Harold was probably one of the finest offensive linemen I've ever been associated with. He was the type of individual showed up every day in practice, and when he did play, he was out there chasing people down, doing what he had to, and in practice, he was always going after people.
He came to play, and again, he was a special teams player. He knew he wasn't going to be All-State or anything, but he'd give you 100%, and he really made a contribution to our team. His senior year, he turned in gems for us. He was really good on special teams.
He played like an all-star. He worked like an all-star.
Strong, hard hitter, almost as fast as me.
Kevin just was hustling all the time, and I know the times here, or Macomb Daily talked about it. We called him our special teams wild man because he could just get down there and get it done. He was a big kid, he could plug the middle pretty good, and we had some fast linebackers who could really cover the field. So Mike's job mainly was to keep the blocker off our linebackers.
Who made the tackle? I don't know. And then when you look at the film, it was Willett.
Didn't play much offense, but he played defense, and he was very tough. Got his job done.
Bentley was a good little guard. He didn't play defense for us really. He was just offense, but you wouldn't think a guy that size could get it done. But he started, he was a total starter through the year until he broke his toe.
I'll tell you what, pound for pound, he was probably the toughest kid on the team. You would look at him, super nice guy. Kind of, again, one of those guys that's kind of quiet, and I'll bet you he weighed all of the 140 pounds, 145 pounds, but he was like a Tasmanian devil. I mean, this guy did not let people go through him.
Man, he had to be the lightest guy on the team, and he did not play. I don't even know what he weighed in at, but he was tough. And I'm very proud of Mike. He kind of ran with a different crowd, but he was out there with football and did an awesome job. Seen one of the hardest hits ever was top bar. I turned the guy back into him, and he just wiped him out. He didn't get up either.
He probably got the hit of the year.
I believe as we played Algonac.
He laid a hit on a guy against Algonac.
Got the sweep around left end. The kid tried to cut back and didn't see Todd coming.
And a guy turned right into it, and Todd laid him out.
I mean, he destroyed this guy. I mean, you could hear it all the way across the field.
And it was at New Haven, so the crowd got to hear it and see it.
I mean, he hit this guy so hard, this guy just laid down on the ground.
And Todd just stood over him like, guess what? you made the mistake of running into me. And he just smiled, came to the sidelines all happy, and that was it.
He was another quiet player until you got him mad. When you got him mad, there was referees you used to have to tell him to calm down.
People did try to avoid going off tackle and get wide. Bob could usually run them down. And I think he intercepted 3 passes as a junior outside linebacker for us, and that was pretty good.
Always in the play, always making the block, always getting downfield.
I don't think I've had linebackers intercept passes since then like Durst and Dalton did on the outside.
Another comedian.
With this group, there was always a lot of shenanigans going around and happening. And believe me, Mr. Durst he was a big leader of that.
His senior year, Joe started at left tackle and did a solid job all year. Again, he didn't make All-State like some of the other guys and that type of thing, but he was a good performer and filled his role on the team. It was very valuable. We appreciated Joe, and of course, with a person like his, he never gave us a hard time. Always quiet and just went out and got the job done. Phil did a lot with special teams, and it was probably only because of him that I was able to coach there, because our mate would let me out of class or out of school a little early in my prep hour, sacrifice some time to get to New Haven. Well, Phil would already beat me to New Haven. He would supervise the locker room when guys are getting dressed, do the taping. He would run calisthenics, and we believed heavily in stretching properly, and that's why, with such few kids on the team, he can't afford injuries and strains and everything, and our guys were well stretched, and usually he was in the middle of the kicking game, special teams, when I got there. That's the first time I'd show up. Everything else is already done before I got there.
He would get you so mad at yourself, it brought the extra out in you. One of the most determined man I've ever seen in my life. He's disciplined. He brought discipline to a group of guys that thought they knew it all.
A good heart for the kids. Enjoyed coaching the kids. Enjoyed putting the extra time in. And it wasn't so much the winning that he enjoyed. He enjoyed being around the kids.
We had pylons with the name of every team that we had to play that year. And every time you beat a team, you took their pylon out. And you had to run around them and back around the fields. And just the discipline he put into us, and he did a good job of bringing at first a group of guys that really had confidence, thought they were greatest, but he glued it all even more together. You were just a family. It wasn't about green, yellow, black, or white. You were a team.
I think I've been at 4 different high schools coaching, and there's always some guys you like, and sometimes it's not always the all-state kid or the star or the starter. Sometimes it's a second or third string kid who maybe just plays with total heart. You always have favorite players like that, and of course there were some of my favorite players of all time were on that New Haven team, but I never had a team play with as much heart as those guys. They refused to lose. Even when things didn't look good, they knuckled down. They wanted that championship. Those guys, they wanted to be champions. And I think, even though we had a few really outstanding athletes, it's just a small New Haven team as far as numbers went, the heart that these kids had, and fighting to win the championship.
There was no quit. I do not think we ever played a game that they, as a team, I never heard any of these young men ever say, "Boy, we're not going to win. We're down." They were always into the game, always ready, and always believed in themselves.
As they did 50 years earlier, the players and coaches gathered one last time to eat cake and enjoy each other's company.